Oh my god, it's all on fire. This is the CHAIRQASITION. This is where we take a game, we talk about it, we review it, we run it through the quality assurance ringer that maybe the developers didn't do before releasing the 1.0. Then we give you a score. It's usually based on 1 to 4 chairs, based on, at least for the first part, it's based on categories. Does it launch, performance, graphics, and control? And then we also give you a score from 1 to 4 chairs on whether we thought it was fun or not. This week, we're throwing chairs at distance. 1.0, after 6 years of development, it's finally out. It's by Refract Games, built on Unity. You can pick it up for about £20 or whatever that is in actual money. What is it? Distance is an atmospheric racing platformer fusing futuristic arcade racing with parkour, survive a deadly and mysterious neon-drenched city by jumping or rotating and flying. So, Ven, on Ubuntu, how did that work out?
1804 Ryzen 1700, 16 gigajoules RAM NVMe, old crusty ancient 980. Didn't have any issues. I mean, it launched out of the box. Nothing broke. Then again, we've been playing this game for 6 years, so it had better pass that test. As far as the performance at 1080, it's usually hovering around 120. Kind of impressively, being a Unity title, it still manages a solid 50 at UHD. That's 2160, 3840. Graphics. Things have changed up a little bit. I mean, it's still got some neon stuff, but mostly everything's nice and dark. It's even got a little slider at the beginning. It kind of tells you, hey man, hide this logo so you can run into shit, but more on that at 11. Control, not enough to ding it, but something to mention. It works fine out of the box with a Steam controller. Nothing to complain about, except your button prompts are all up, man. They used to work, and now they don't. But, yeah, man, QA score, solid 4 chairs out of that. Jordan, baby, how's it over in Fedora land?
Well, Fedora land really, really likes my Samsung monitor for some reason, but it does launch on Fedora 28 64-bit with the i7 6700K and the GTX 1080 Ti, performance on which is pretty great with everything up to 11. I got about 200 FPS at 1080p and holds about 100 in-game at UHD, so that's pretty good. Graphics-wise, yeah, it's dark. It's a little unclear at times when where things are. That Ven has some theories on that. He'll explain that a bit later. Control wise, so I had a bit of a problem. I first tried it out with the DualShock controller here, and all the button prompts were all fucked up. So I said, okay, maybe there's a Steam controller profile, a Steam input profile for this. Tried it, fucked up. So moved on to the next guy. Look at the Steam controller here. Look at it. Look at the nipples. Yeah, out of the box again. Little fucky. Try to find a profile for it. Also fucky. Finally, we settled on the tried, true, and classic wired Xbox 360 controller. That all worked out of the box. But let me tell you something, Brad, because y'all have been in development for like 5-6 years or whatever, plus the development of Nitronic Rush. And I gotta say, get some fucking correct button prompts for your goddamn controllers. Do you know what button 5 on an Xbox controller is? I do, because I had to fucking look it up. So it's the right bumper it's the left bumper, by the way, if in case you were wondering. Yeah, this is a significant oversight, and I'm going to ding it a chair for that because it's a racing game. Every other racing game I played, I plug in my DualShock and it works as expected. This is the rare exception, so I'll give it 3 chairs. Pedro, how about Solus?
Yep. Over here, I actually tried both Solus and Fedora being on the Steam box, because I decided, it's the 1.0 release, let's see if it works on the Steam box. It freezes after 30 seconds, but considering all the issues that the Steam box currently has, I'm not going to ding it a chair for that. The 2400G is still a bit iffy on the Linuxes, so over here on the desktop running Solus 3.99999 with the Ryzen 5 1600 and the GTX 1080, I had no issues running the game. The performance at 1080, it usually hovered between 150 to 130, but there were tracks where the FERPs would dip to like the 60s. At 3840 by 2160, those same tracks would dip to the 30s. So yeah, that was it still needs a bit of work there. Graphics, I noticed something because I played all the way through the single player campaign, because that was the big promise, and I saw on some of the levels that had like vegetation, there was Z fighting. and I hadn't seen Zed fighting textures since Victor Vran released the Motorhead DLC. Though, judging by the way that they disappear when they clash with each other, it's more likely that it's Zed fighting tessellation rather than texture meshes themselves. Empty also ran into this yesterday. At 3840 by 2160, there are some seizure-tastic flickers on some tracks, and on others, you don't even get to see anything because it just doesn't render anything.
Orange.
Controls, yeah, no, I'm a mouse and keyboard player. You can rebind everything. You can rebind everything on controllers, but yeah, you will have to deal with the cryptic button prompts. So yeah, 3 chairs from me.
Well, Empty got wrecked, but this game got an okay score. How about fun, Ven? Did you enjoy playing Distance?
Hey man, let's talk about some subjective business. I kind of hate being right. Really, I don't. The story mode. This is what we've been waiting on. All this. I'm not going to say the main thing, but this is the thing that's been brought up commonly about where's this game at? It's like we're working on the story mode. Got to get the story mode. Got to make it a masterpiece. The story mode. At least for me, it's basically a 5-minute tutorial stretched out to 30+ minutes with some random VO in the background. And just for fun, shits and giggles, it'll randomly lock your ability to fly, jump, and all these other things that are critical to playing the game. All right, so we know story mode. For me personally, kind of a massive waste of time and energy. But there is an arcade mode. Actually, there's a couple of different modes. The arcade mode is something I was originally interested in, but it's basically turned into a collection of workshop tracks with a few refract classics, something that looks nice and it's nice neon. They're smattered in there. And I guess maybe if you wanted to be very kind, you could kind of frame it as like they loved the workshop levels so much built by the community that they put it into the final product to showcase their skills, or you could really call it what it is. It's kind of lazy. I mean, I bought a game. I could already play the workshop items. I wanted some new stuff from the developers. The game didn't get that. Empty actually brought up a really good point on last night's stream. You know, most, if not all, of the included workshop tracks were designed by people who have played Distance for years, and they wanted something more challenging. And when you just kind of walk into it, even though I've been playing the game for roughly 6 years, these levels are fuck you hard. And they're not fun when you start off, even at the beginning. In the arcade mode, you're like, what the fuck's this? Come on, we just want to have a good time and play around, do some flips. Not going to happen. So, for the new players, those levels really do come off as something akin to like impossible levels from Mario Maker. But at the end of the day, what you get for your $24.99, currently on sale for $19.99, which was the regular early access price, is a single-player arcade racer where your only opponent is the track. I mean, it's forever alone mode. There's no AI, no collisions, just ghosts that you can race against. Even if you're playing online multiplayer like we were last night, you're just racing against the other ghosts. That's kind of its biggest sin, because that can get boring really quick. And for me, I kind of feel like Distance went from like that promising neon Tron game of like, oh my God, it's so pretty, look at it, just look at it, and it runs so well. It's a Unity title, which it still performs fantastic. But it's kind of turned into an apocalyptic nopescape filled with cheap shots and shit lighting. Yes, that shit lighting is used to hide the cheap shots on the tracks. Get yourself some of that. #sun. Now listen, I'm not angry about this. This actually came out on Linux, a few months after they released, when their Kickstarter completed, they got the Windows version, then they got the Linux version. They've been good at keeping it up to date and parity. They delivered. This is the first Kickstarter-backed thing, which I paid $70. So did Pedro, and Empty, who's racing with us, if you're watching the video version, paid $70 too. I mean, we got money invested in this. So again, I'm not angry at this. I'm massively fucking disappointed, but I'm not going to say don't get it. If you like what I said, just know what you're walking into. You're basically getting a bunch of workshop items with a couple of tracks. Now, they added some bonus if you finish the campaign, and unfortunately, you got to unlock it. You can get some of the Nitronic Rush business, but I'll give this 2 chairs. That's the middle of the road. It's not bad, but I don't feel that it's necessarily finished.
Yeah, most racing games, I don't really grok, and honestly, Distance isn't an exception. And I'm not that good at parkour. I tried to practice using the arcade mode, using the story mode, which story mode was extra fucky because at one point I got to the point where it's like, this is how you boost. By the way, we're not going to let you unboost, so your car's going to explode now. that was one of the things that only got fixed by switching to the Xbox controller. But yeah, I'm just not good at a lot of what the game demands of me. And I mean, that's fine. I don't have to be good at every game. Not every game has to appeal to my delicate sensibilities. But I mean, this is my fun section. It looks all right, despite being incredibly dark. The story mode gives you, I guess, some reason to go from point A to point B. There's like some colony, and you got to race out of there. I don't know if you bought a racing game, something tells me that you're already in the mood to, race from point A to point B, and you don't need the additional motivation or like the trippy hellscape or whatever the hell is happening. At some point I was expecting like a demon to show up and I had to become Doom guy, or like some sort of like Autobot Doom guy with like a built-in BFG cock. Actually, if that was part of the game, I would be super jazzed about it. Yeah. I tried out the Trackmogrifier too, because they were hyping that up for a while. I threw in the entirety of the lyrics to Sir Mix-a-Lot's "I Like Big Butts" and got rewarded with possibly the easiest track I think I've ever played. So that's a thing. Honestly, for 6 years of development and fine-tuning, I'm not horribly impressed with what we got. It's a competently done racing game. And like the parkour element stuff is interesting from like an academic standpoint, but it doesn't really do anything for me. So I'm going to give it 1 share. It's not paid racing games. This isn't going to change your mind. At least I don't think so. But what the fuck do I know? 1 share.
58 minutes. 58 minutes on top of the 50 hours that I already played of this game. That's how long it took me to destroy that single-player campaign that they'd been promising for the last year. I even got the Speed Race Runner announcement achievement to prove it. So, yeah. Having the, having played through the old Nitronic Rush levels in a remastered type of way, it was, that was a really nice touch. I really enjoyed that. What wasn't a nice touch, as Van already alluded to, were the workshop levels. And if you're watching this right here, a lot of people weren't having fun. Not these tracks specifically. These were the easy ones. It's the ones later on in the stream, if you go back and check Friday's stream, it's there's people just weren't having fun with those games, with those levels. So it's, you could have picked so many better workshop levels, but the official levels aren't all that better either, because, there's Z fighting in some of them. I hadn't seen that since Unity 3, so I'm not sure if I'd call the long wait of 6 years for this game to come out of quote-unquote early access. But I did actually sort of enjoy the single-player campaign. They definitely hammer on the point that, yes, this is an atmospheric racing game, and that is what we're going to do, and that is what we're going to beat you over the head with. And I didn't actually hate it. I just don't like the workshop levels because they were a very, very poor choice. It gets 3 shares because I still like it. It's still Distance, but it could be so much better.
Here's a question for you guys. Did any of you run into this issue? I forgot to mention it in the technical section.
Yeah, twice.
But the game runs fine, but when you're at the very beginning or the very, very end of the level, it gets super chuggy. Did anyone run into that?
Nope.
Yes. Right at the start, the frame rates drop by like half.
Didn't experience it.
And then like right at the end, just as you're about to hit the finish line, it just goes like super, super chuggy. The game their Steam overlay says it's like 200 frames a second or whatever, but it's clearly not. Anyways, that's our take on Distance. You got any final thoughts before we head on over to hate mail?
I again at the end of the day, take that shot, kids. I feel like they just put a bow on it, and this bow's all fucked up looking, and it didn't really stick on very well.
Yeah, no, and yeah, they could have totally, absolutely picked some great workshop levels because they exist, but instead it feels like they picked some of the they're playable ones. So yeah, no.
I think this is quite honestly our first CHAIRQASITION that requires a seizure warning.